Thank you.
Okay, so again, most sketches start with a closed polygon shape. Rectangle, circle, irregular polygon, regular polygons. Different options for these rectangles, or there's even a parabola or parallelogram. Different options for circles, different option for lines, splines. We try to avoid splines as much as possible because, I mean, it's an easy way to make something look kind of slick, but it doesn't dimension well when you do splines. So we'd rather do radius, you know, in some fashion or another. Okay, so I'm going to just start with a rectangle and click on the rectangle. And the first thing it asks you for, like right away, and this is not AutoCAD. Right away, this is like, and I don't know AutoCAD 3D, so maybe it's similar. But which of these three planes do you want to start with? 99.9% of the time, I think one of these three planes is a good starting point. Okay.
Top or front, probably.
What's that?
Top or front, probably.
Right. Probably 95% of the time, you're going to start with the top or the front. And I tend to start with the top a lot, but then it depends on the drawing you're looking at. Depends completely on what you're looking at. But you're right, top or front would probably even more so than the right side. But you can see, you just kind of hover over it. I haven't clicked anything. All I did was click on the rectangle. And now it wants me to choose a plane. So I'll just click on the top plane. Okay, what just happened there is it went normal to. I'm going to undo normal to. This is what your computer defaults to, kind of isometric-ish. So here I'm going to draw a rectangle. That's not a rectangle because it's on an angle, right? Normal to is when I'm looking square at it, face on. So I actually have a tutorial in D2L that shows you how to do that. I'll do that in a second. And also I can do two options. One is hit the space bar and I get this little box here, or I could click on the top. You can see that would be the top. Or this little box, this is normal too. So if I had a plane that was kind of on an angle, I could just hit this and it'd be normal too. That was simply the space bar. Okay. What I haven't shown you also, and I'm going to let you guys that have it open play with this real quick here, is the mouse. I'm rolling the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. I hold the mouse down, the center button down. Notice how that rotates around that axis point. If I hold the, oops, I was trying. It's the middle mouse. I'm teaching a second CAD program and I get confused. Yeah, you hold the center mouse wheel down and that's how you can rotate around. And then the left mouse pops up with this thing. We'll talk about that later. Okay. I don't want what I just did there, so I'm going to undo. Control Z is undo. Okay. Anyway, here's a rectangle, and now I can feature that. Feature, extrude. I just extruded. Doesn't look like much. I could grab this and drag, or I can just type in a number over here. So 1. Check mark. Okay. File, new. Part. Sketch. Rectangle. Choose the plane. Start on the origin. It will never be defined, or we always want to get our parts fully defined as we go along. So it's always helpful to make sure you're starting on the origin. Click once, click twice, drag, feature, extrude. And this is already highlighted down here. So I I see people do this all the time. They'll like click and then they'll go select it again and type in a one. No, you just have to type in one, enter, and check mark. This double monitor check mark, okay. And that just made my part. Okay. Why don't you try that real quick? I guess I can leave my screen open. You can minimize Zoom, and I'm going to get a glass of water. Be right back. Try to do what I just did. I know this is probably a piece of cake for some of you. You've done it 100 times, so you can play with things if you. But if that's new to you, try to make that happen.
I can already tell why you want the space mouse with this. Did you guys know that you can hold the right mouse button and swipe the mouse in the orientation you want the object to go?
That only in SolidWorks? Is that out universal?
Just SolidWorks that I know of, but I accidentally found that because I was like, how do I actually orientate this thing with this nonsense? But hey, that's sweet.
Okay, I'm back.
Interestingly enough, Blender actually uses a similar function.
Yeah, I've used Blender before.
So how'd that?
Good.
Alex, are you still waiting for it to download?
I've got about 8 minutes.
8 minutes. Everybody was that easy?
Yeah. Hey, Rob, how do you pan across the screen?
You
Control and then middle mouse button.
Okay, got it.
yeah, there you go. Control middle mouse button. I tend to do this. I put the mouse over the part and then zoom, so I can zoom out and then go here, or zoom out. You're here. Oh, you're not seeing my screen. Sorry. I
thought I was missing something.
If you move the cursor like to the left of the part and roll the mouse, and then zoom out and put the cursor to the right of the part, and zoom out or above them. Here, I'll share again. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do set a setting that automatically normal to is normal to, and I'll show you that also. So. And share. Here we go. Okay, you should see my screen. Right now, I want to do another sketch. So I'm going to click Sketch. This time I'll do a circle. And instead of those 4 or those 3 planes to choose, now I have 6 planes to choose from. I can choose any of those sides to sketch on. So it says choose a plane. So I'll just click on this plane. Well, it's ready to sketch now. I undid the setting I'm going to show you. So now I can sketch on this plane, but it's not normal to, and I think it's very helpful to have it normal to. So here I can hit space bar. Oh, not in the middle of the sketch. Space bar, and this little guy right here, and that puts it normal too. But I like it where when I click on that surface, it automatically goes normal too. So what you're going to do here is come up to this little gear, its options, and go to sketch and check the top box. which is auto rotate view, normal to sketch plane on sketch creation. So when you start a new sketch, it automatically does normal to. So you'll see the difference here. I'll just finish that sketch. Start a new sketch. I choose this plane, and it squares up for me. Yeah. I personally like that. If you like to keep seeing it 3D, you can get confused sometimes. Like if you're drawing and it's angled, you might be drawing way on a different surface than you think. So go ahead and change that if you'd like. I think it's, again, that's options, sketch, and the top box right there. I have a little video in D2L also. Okay, I'll continue with this new circle I made, and I'll come back to this one too. So here I have this circle, and I want to feature that. Well, this time I'm going to extrude cut. This was what I did first, extrude. Here I'm going to extrude cut. And similarly, you get some options here. Here's a depth. But what you have here is a few commands. Do I want to go through all? Blind is a distance. My blind right here is 1 inch, or should I make it 1/2 of an inch. Through all goes through all, like it says. This is like a center. We'll get to that. Up to next is interesting. Like that'll go to that next surface. Up to surface, I have to choose the surface. So I could choose this surface, and it would cut all the way through like that. Offset from a surface. This is a little more advanced, but it's, I might as well show you. I have the surface picked, and here we'll make it 0.1 inches from the selected surface. So that hole would go that deep. Not all the way through, but 100 thousandths from the back side. And that's what I'll just finish. So there's my hole I created. Okay. You can try that real quick if that's new to you. I'm going to talk about the design tree here. Currently, we have 3 sketches out there. The rectangle, that circle, and this circle, and 2 features. I extruded the rectangle and I cut that circle. Here they all are. This is showing the feature. This is showing that second sketch. And so here's my first sketch. Here's my second sketch on that top plan. And here's my third sketch. And these are the features. So we can right click on any of these. And, you know, one of the learning curves with SolidWorks are the icons. So what do I do now? Well, this is the most used by far. You know, we're going to edit this feature. Okay. I extruded it 1 inch before. Well, now I want it 2 inches. Okay. I'm using my mouse. Color mouse. There we go. Checkbox. So now that's 2 inches. If I want to change this hole, right click, and hit sketch. Oh, it went normal too. That's great. I could move this around if I wanted to. This is not fixed at all. This is just free floating, which is horrible. We're beginning, but right here it says underdefined. Before you move on from any sketch, say in 1 week from now, you want this to be fully defined, and we'll get to that here. But here I'm just editing the sketch. So check mark. This button up here is kind of like finalize. This is undo or close that, go back to where I was. This is finalize. So there I still have that circle. It's not extruded. I have this. Let's edit that feature. I could edit this, say the size of the sketch or the location of the sketch by hitting this, or I can right click, edit the feature. And this time I'm going to change it from being offset from surface to through all. So now it's a hole. See? So very helpful to understand right off the bat how you can edit your sketches. Right click, edit sketch. I can grab a corner. The only thing that's tied in here is this corner. Pretty soon I'm going to be talking about these little green things. Okay. Like I can grab this corner and size it this way. I can grab this corner and size it here. But this one is in, it's called a relation. This has a relation of being coincident with the origin. In AutoCAD, it's called constraints. So I'm just editing that very first sketch. In fact, maybe I'll edit it to the point that it's going to be an error. Let's see. Finalize. Oh, no, that's still through all. My circle's still there. So I could go back to this circle, right click, edit, sketch, and now feature that. I'll extrude it out. Come towards. There, it's coming up toward us. Check mark. Okay, so this first lesson for me is learn how to do these basic shapes, learn extrude, extrude cut, and how to edit your features in your sketches and understand that. So go ahead and play with that a little bit. I'll stop sharing for now.
And I guess update, I've finished downloading, we're installing now. So.
And if you have questions, most likely somebody else has the same question, so please feel free to ask.
I will say the one thing nice about SolidWorks is that history tab, or whatever you're calling it.
Design
Just being able to
tree.
go back and mess with what you've done, because I know I've used AutoCAD a lot of work and stuff, and it's just like you screw up one thing, you have to go back and pretty much redo it. It's like super nice being able to go through that history.
Absolutely, and say you have a few couple, I'll call them constraints, but you may have a part that is varies in size between 6 inches and 6.5 and 7 inches. You just go file save as 6.5, file save as 7. So you really simple to make a whole bunch of new files that are super easy to edit. And as most of you probably know already, I shouldn't assume it, but that part I made, or this little block, we could save it as an STL file and print it on a 3D printer, that fast. We can do the photorealistic rendering. We'll get to that eventually, that fast. We can do stress tests on this. So pretty awesome.
So how does the sketch go from being defined to fully defined?
Okay, that's what I'm going to show you next. Okay. So, Are we good with dabbling with that for now? So here I'll share my screen again. I like to start new, but let's not. Let's just keep going with this. So here we got to start with our first sketch. And I'm going to right click and edit that sketch. Well, here it's underdefined. The only thing that's defining it is it's touching right there. We don't have any dimensions. That's why it's not defined. So in SolidWorks, it's really easy. There's smart dimension, and I think AutoCAD users tend to go here and go, oh, horizontal dimension or vertical dimension. Works beautifully, but you have to understand the few basics. And the basic is, I want to dimension this line here, which is between here and here. But all I have to do is click on this line once and then drag. Again, you don't have to delete this. This is all ready to type a number in. 6, enter. Notice now this is black and this is black, but this is still blue. I can click on this line. I like to kind of, I could click here and type, but good practice is to kind of position it like you would a technical drawing, put it in the middle, and shoot, enter. Sketch, because it's tied to the origin, is 6 inches by 2 inches, is fully defined. Check that. Let's go to that second sketch, which is here. Oh, that's interesting. Go to that one first. Read my features. Let's just go to this one, edit sketch. Now I have to do a few dimensions here to fully define this. I can go smart dimension. Here is the diameter of the circle. Just say 0.5. It's not fully defined. I have to tell it how far it is from these two edges, essentially. So now I'm going to click on the circle. I was trained to click on the circle and not the center. The center can become a point, but I'm not sure that's true. So I click on the circle and this line, and now I can give that a number. It's still underdefined because I have one more dimension to give it. That's from the circle to this edge. Fully defined. So, and then finalize. Still a hole through there, but those sketches are fully defined. And this last one, I think this little guy right here shows that it's underdefined. That little, it's missing right there. So I'm going to right click, edit that sketch. Here I'm going to do this, now I'm going to show you on a separate one. Let's just do it the way I did it. Give it a number, give it a distance from an edge. And give it a distance from another edge. If I just hit enter, that will be the distance, 2.64707281. It would be fully defined, but be careful. You want to make sure you're clicking into whatever the drawing is telling you to do. There it's fully defined. And now, nope, I was wrong. What is that thing? Oh, that was a mark on my, my screen. So there, that is a fully defined sketch. Play with that. Try to go in there and edit those. Raise your hand if you want a little more time playing with that. Okay, I'm going to show you something else. Eventually here. Okay, I'm going to start with a brand new drawing here. This mouse zoom control panel is always in the way. File, new, part, sketch, just like we've been doing. Corner, if you turned on that option that I showed you, it goes normal 2. Start on your origin. If you don't start on the origin, you're going to have to dimension the sides to the origin or drag it. Let me show you what can happen. So there's exit sketch. And, oops, I don't want to exit sketch. I can drag this to the origin. Now, that is what's called a relation. Okay. And here's a couple basic relations. I'm going to click, I'm not in Smart Dimension. I just have my part here. And these are relations too. This is horizontal, vertical, and coincident with the origin, that point. Okay. So if I want to make this a square, it still won't be fully defined, but it'll be a square. I'm going to click on, this is the order I do it in. People always find other things. But I click on what I want to be, I'll tell you where I'm going. I'm going to make this side equal to this side. Okay. So I'm a creature of habit. I always do it the same way. I click on that side, I hold the shift key down, and then click on that side. And I get these options here. And one of them is equal. So what that just did is make this side equal to this side. And no matter what I do, if I drag this, it's going to stay a square. So you see it added these equal relations. Now it's not fully defined, but if I just add one dimension, it is now fully defined because it has these other relations. Okay. other here's another really helpful thing. We'll keep going with relations, but this is a good time to show this too. Say I want to make a circle and I want to put it right in the middle of that square. Well, I could draw the circle and then I could add a couple dimensions. Or I can draw a center line. See where that is? Here's line, little arrow. And center lines don't become part of the I guess they're kind of invisible. I wish I had a better way to describe it. But they're for construction lines. So now we have snaps like we have in a lot of programs. There's a midpoint snap. So I'm going to draw my circle here. And because I used that center line from corner to corner, and that is located right in the middle, and I could have gone this way also. But no need to go both ways. And I smart to mention this. Here it's fully defined and I only have 2 dimensions, right? So I have midpoint snap, or really it's a midpoint relation, a coincident relation, vertical and equal, horizontal and equal, and that makes it fully defined. And if I extrude this, just for the kick of it, you'll see that it does extrude with a hole already in it. Give that a shot. Do you see me, or do you see me when I talk?
Yeah, your camera is available.
Yeah, it's a split view. You're just in like the roulette wheel on the side.
I see. I don't want to pick my nose or anything while you're watching.
You see, I've got a slight benefit. I have 3 monitors. So I have SolidWorks, all of your faces, and your presentation. So I can see everything.
Wow. I need that setup.
Only reason I have this much is because when they retired me from HP, they said, you can keep the monitors. And I said, oh, I will.
Yeah, I remember that when that sweeping happened. That stinks. So again, if you have a question, please ask other people. We'll probably wonder the same thing. Okay, I'm going to show you another kind of practice thing we do. You can follow along if you can. So kind of a good practice is to go sketch, and let's draw some lines. Top, front, right view. It doesn't matter. We'll grab the front this time. And click, click, click. This is normal too, though it may kind of look like it's, okay. And now I'm going to click on this one and make it vertical. Click on this one and make it horizontal. And this one, make it vertical. I could make this horizontal, or I could make this one shift this one equal. This corner shift the origin coincident. This one shift this one equal. Now I just have to add one dimension. So I drew it out in space and used constraint or relations to make it square. So it's kind of a good practice. And if I just add one dimension here, we'll just make it 2.8347. It's fully defined. So even though I drew that funky looking four-sided shape out in space, I was able to tie it to the origin, make these equal, make these horizontal, and give it a dimension. We can delete constraints. I'll go to a smart dimension here. If I don't want this to be equal anymore, I can delete that equals. Now, add a second dimension. So when we get more advanced, you're going to sometimes constraints happen and you don't want them to happen. And it's like, why is it fully defined but it's not right? So you may have to go in and like delete, like it was just right click and delete that constraint. And they're not parallel, they're not equal sides anymore. Undo that. I think you'll get an error if I say make that one vertical. Yep, that blew up. It's impossible to make this one vertical, because that is perpendicular. Make it darn near vertical. And that would become a line then. I'm going to show you a couple more constraints here. A couple other things I haven't mentioned. The escape key on the keyboard, very helpful. It'll get you out of things. Control Z is the same as undo. Most people know that. Okay, so I'm going to add to this little funky drawing here. We're going to make that, here, let's make these parallel. It's another constraint. So I click on the top one and click on this one, and instead of defining this one as horizontal, I'm going to make those two parallel. And that, because this one is horizontal, this doesn't say horizontal, but it is because it's parallel. Okay? I'm going to draw a little line here. If you're using the line tool and you want to like stop drawing a line and I've stopped this line, but I want to draw another line, it's a double click. So now I'm ready to draw another line. I missed that. Oops. I missed the endpoint. I wanted to get the endpoint. And you see the little yellow? Here I can move this. It actually has some snaps. There's 135 degrees, which is the 45 from 90. That's vertical. You see the little yellow constraint. There's 45. I'm going to go vertical here. Escape. Here I have this shape. I'm going to click on this blue line, shift key, this line, and make them collinear. So now they line up. Still under defined, it looks pretty much black. So if you don't know what's under defined, you can grab dots, grab points, and see what moves. That's moving. So I have to either mention this and mention this. That means that I tie it together. All right, there it's still under defined because I have these, the dot can still move. In this case, I would delete the delete key, delete, and draw a new line if I just wanted a rectangle for some reason. And that should be fully defined. So these constraints are really I don't want to say powerful, but it's really a big step in understanding how the program works. When you start use constraints again, they're relations. Constraints is AutoCAD. Here's, try this, watch this. I'm gonna zoom, whoa. Oh crap, I'm in space, I'm rolling the mouse, I can't find my part, it's somewhere out there. I'm gonna hit the F key as in Frank. And that fits it to the screen. Here I'm zoomed in really tight, F. Okay. And it's often, you will lose your part. It'll be somewhere in outer space, F. Normal 2, spacebar, normal 2. Or, if you like other shortcuts, Control 8 is normal 2 also. Spacebar is easier to remember. Control A is probably a little faster. Let me show you a couple more tools that you haven't seen or that I haven't shown you. Just delete this line. Sometimes you'll get a situation where you need to draw from here to like a midpoint. This is not a good sketch because of that tag end we have there. You see, it's not turning gray either, the extrude part. So that's the trim command. And similar to Smart Dimension, you have these options, but 99% of the time, Smart Dimension works. With trim, %of the time, power trim is fine. And it's a little different. If you've done a lot of AutoCAD, these corner trims and stuff, people like those, but power trim is kind of like an eraser tool. I'm going to hold the left mouse button down and just drag through what I don't want. And I could trim here. I get rid of that. So here I'll draw 2 lines out there. Circle. Okay, and now I'm going to start trimming, power trim. Click and drag the mouse. So you left that arc. Okay. Let me show you that again. Control Z. There, if I power trim through this, it's going to leave the arc that's touching those 2 places. Oops. So when you get used to it, power trim is pretty awesome. It goes really fast. And there's my shape. Those can extrude. Extrude both of them at the same time. But the case we have here is there are 2 different bodies. They're not the same body. So we really avoid that as much as possible. See what I have back here. Okay, so a quick review of the things I've shown you. Sketching. You know, this perimeter circle is used in certain cases. The center rectangle, I didn't show you that. Let's go file new. Center rectangle can be super handy in a lot of things. I'm going to sketch the center rectangle on this plane. And you see how that already draws my center lines. And adds all these other relations if I know what I'm trying to do here. Right. So that works a little different than corner rectangle. We didn't do arcs, but arcs, you can play with them, but we'll get to those eventually. squares and circles in dimension. So dimensioning and smart dimension, to get this thing here fully defined, I'm just going to kind of hit whatever dimensions it is. But really, I'd be typing in dimensions that I want. It's going to take quite a few. Just add some crazy relation here, like collinear, that, shift, this, collinear. Oh, that blew up. I didn't like that because I had this dimension and that dimension. It cannot be collinear. So I back out, Control Z. To get this shape, not much more complicated than a rectangle, takes a lot more dimensions to get it fully defined. If you see a screen like this, make it dimension driven, cancel. The reason it doesn't need this dimension, it's over defined. It has this dimension and this dimension and this dimension, so I can't dimension that one. I can't figure out what's not defined. Get out of smart dimension and drag. Let's tie the origin to the corner. All right. Let's go shift. What's it? Over defined. I got a bunch of things going on here. So when you get in this situation, you either back out of it or start deleting relations until you can figure out what's going on. I'm not doing it. I'm just playing here too. I'm not trying to do anything specific. I started playing and now I'm probably confusing people. So so understanding those few things is a great first step. You know, we don't want to go, I don't want to go too far tonight, but how to get it to be fully defined, unlike this sketch. Get your sketch to be fully defined using construction lines can be really helpful when you're making things. Using the different rectangles, adding relations, holding the shift key. And we'll quickly enough get into the rest of this stuff. If you look on D2L, been away a while. And you are so willing to try these drawings. So what they look like, there's your clamp block. This is really supposed to be next week, but you could probably figure this out. There's a bunch of different ways to go about this. What I haven't shown you is how to change the material yet. If you look in the bottom right of your SolidWorks down here, way at the bottom, it shows your units, inches, pounds, seconds, and I could quickly change it to millimeters if I wanted to. So here, and so that wouldn't be a bad one to, and I'm going to be collecting these at some point. I don't have that stuff set up yet in D2L, but this is going to become a nightmare, to be honest. Like getting all these, you guys submitting all these files digitally, and then me keeping track of them and opening them and finding if you got them right. What I loved about being in the classroom is I'd just come up behind you and you'd show me your drawing and look at your mass and stuff and check you off. Like, that's my problem, not your problem. So if you want to play more, I would try to do some of these 3 drawings that are in D2L. Clamp block, clamp plate. Oops, I just closed it. Shoot. Whatever those 3 drawings are. Slide is one of them. But nobody's had serious problems or issues here so far?
Oh,
Going pretty smoothly.
Good, good. I mean, it's good to kind of start this way and just play and not get too serious. And I like to re-emphasize those beginning things. I don't want to jump too far into these things that get a little more complicated. You want to have relations down, dimensioning down, fully defined, using center lines, using the different rectangles.
I got the square with the circle, so I'm pretty happy about that.
how do you specify which direction to do your dimensioning? Because I'm trying to do it and it only wants to do it on a single plane. And I'm like, no, I want you to go this way.
I'm not exactly sure what you're saying there, Jeff.
Well, so if you look at your like clamp block, I'm attempting to recreate that, and I'm trying to do the dimensions, only like my 6 is going in the Y direction instead of X direction.
So I think what you're saying is I just make the clamp block from this sketch here, or this part. You may be trying to do too much in one sketch.
No, I'm just trying to get my dimensions in it. And when
Can
I
you share your screen?
Sure.
Let me stop sharing. I'll let you share.
I think his sketch is on a different plane, maybe.
You got sharing disabled.
I do.
Apparently so.
One participant can share at a time.
Said host disable participant screen sharing.
Okay.
I love the wonderful world of Zoom.
Chat, screen share, advanced sharing options. Oh, all participants. Found it. There you go. Try that.
All right. So here's my clamp block. Only as you can see, my dimensions are going off in weird directions as opposed to trying to emulate your actual graphic.
You were using the dim expert.
I just use smart dimensions.
See where it says dim expert up in the upper left? Lower, a little lower. Up, higher. Down. So click on the left tab right there. Right where you are.
Yeah.
The little yellow thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why you had that. Click on the arrow next to annotations. And no, right click on annotations, sorry.
Okay.
Feature dimensions. Turn off the show dim expert annotations. Okay, so that's typical there. If you want to show your, right click on that again, the annotations, and to show feature dimensions. And
Okay.
those are your feature dimensions. I don't know why it's not showing all of them. So you dimensioned the sketch and not the part, not the 3D part. So there you go again. So
Yeah, no, it's probably my bad for trying to jump ahead. But
Right click on one of your sketches. They're not there. Wish I could take over your mouse.
actually, yeah, you can. Hang on a sec. Do there you go. Now you have control.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do. That's cool. So I'm going to edit your sketch. Here's your very first sketch. And you were dimensioning it afterwards. This is what you want to dimension, is your sketch.
Ah.
See? So here you would go and you dimension each sketch, and before you go on to the next sketch, you dimension it.
Okay. So I need to get rid of all my previous.
They're all right here, but
They're right, but they're just.
You were dimensioning the 3D shape, is what you were doing?
Mm-hmm.
I know that is possible. I never teach that approach, though. I always teach this. And like here, for instance, I would delete.
Yeah, that was
three lines there. I would make that one line.
That was the first one that I did. I actually started out with a block, and then I pulled the two sides out.
Yeah. So this is good practice. You play with these, see what you get, and I'll go through them the next time how to build those.
Okay.
We're going to look at the book a little bit with the interface, but the way I like to teach this is where you make a sketch and get it fully defined before you extrude it. You go on to the next sketch, and then you fully define it, then extrude or extrude cut, or whatever you're doing.
Okay.
And I can't say that what you were doing is wrong. But I think you're going to get confused as we go along because the way the book and the way.
Rob, you have to understand, Jeff has a habit of this.
I do.
In about 3 or 4 weeks, I'll probably figure that out. My time's up tonight. I'd be glad to hang out if you have any personal questions or anything you want to talk to me about.
Real
tonight.
quick, you were saying we were missing 4 on the code to get the 2020 SolidWorks.
Yes, from the syllabus. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I don't
From
believe
this-
that you could get the 2020/2021 SolidWorks. I was trying that. I think you have to go for the 2019-2020.
Okay, I had the 2019. I guess I just misheard.
I'm going to stop recording. I've been recording this whole thing.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Would you? Are you going to post that on the D2L?
D2L, yeah. I think it takes a little while to process once I finish recording. So I'll try to get it up there tonight.
Thank you.
All these things like Zoom, they're all just a little different, Stop recording. I've been using Google